because we can because we're going live because Bruce is talking about court. If you're here 7 minutes early, well done to you. So tell us about the going to court bit again, Bruce. Where are you at with your stuff?
Well, apparently I got a warning letter, but I didn't because they sent it to the wrong address, or maybe it was my homework's in the mail. I don't know. It's because surprisingly they didn't get their letter back, which they should have done after 3 weeks if it's not delivered. But they didn't get it back. So maybe the minister rattled their cage and said, "What's going on?" They said, no, honestly, the check's in the mail. I don't know. Could have been. No idea. But yeah, so that was for the first 3 investigations that they undertook. And so I got a warning letter for those because they believe that I breached the rules. I don't agree with them, but hey, I'm not an expert in these things. They're the experts. They should know. And so now the next step is they've got to initiate a penalty for any further infringements that they decide breach the rules. And of course, there are still 2 investigations in the pipeline. There is the SD card I found in the park of somebody flying a drone. Well, I mean, obviously that was somebody who could have been anybody.
Yes, obviously, yes.
It's going to be pretty hard to prove. And the one that they can prove, however, is when I flew my 20-gram drone in this one here. When I flew this in my garden below the line of the roof of my house in an act that obviously endangered aviation, according to CAA themselves. So they're going to have to convince a judge that, yes, this was a danger to aviation flying beneath the roof of my house in my back garden. And well, I'd really just want to see where that goes, to be honest.
But though, Bruce, surely what they've done you for is wrong because you weren't where they said you were.
Yeah.
Therefore, how can you do someone for doing something that they didn't do at a location that they weren't at?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the investigation has been a fairly low standard, I have to say. For something that took an order of magnitude longer than was predicted, the outcome seems to be a bit shoddy and a bit shaky on many grounds. So, the fact that, as I showed in my video, I couldn't possibly have engaged that flight, and that like didn't look 1.5 or 1.2 miles away to me. But hey, as I say, they're the experts. What the hell would I know? I've only been doing this for 60 years. They've been reading books for the last 10 minutes, and they've ginned up on the regulation since I told them what was what. So they are the experts, and I will defer to their superior knowledge until we get to a court, and then I'll ask a judge what he thinks is sensible.
But listen, now, as part of any investigation, were you interviewed as part of this investigation?
They sent me an email with lots of questions. I did a video on that, and I replied to the questions, but there was no personal interview. There was no request for my address or anything like that.
Your side of the story, you weren't requested to understand what your side of the story was?
Oh, they asked me to answer questions, and I answered questions that they put to me. Not in a way that would incriminate me, of course, because a lot of them were, like, would you like to be fined or taken to court sort of thing.
No, hold on a minute. I do investigation for a living, right? And at no point in an investigation do you discuss the possible outcome because that's prejudging the investigation. So hold on. As part of the investigation, they are asking you, should we find you guilty?
How should we stick it to you?
How would you like to be punished?
I exaggerate a little, but if you go back and look at the video, you'll see that many of the questions were very, very loaded, basically asking you why you did a bad thing and lots of stuff. Very obviously, if you'd answered them at face value, you could have incriminated yourself, and that's not a good look. So I answered the questions appropriately, and they had to work with that data, but they didn't ask sensible questions. And the thing is that their records were obviously years out of date because they did not know that I had my CAA recognised qualification that let me fly within 4 kilometres of an airfield. And they had to contact the National Model Flying Body to get updates on that, even though I had it again for years, and the address was wrong. But they never verify anything that's important, like where do you live? It's crazy.
Yeah. As part of any investigation, the first questions are, okay, let's get to the base details. Who you are, where the incident happened. Time, place, location. Then your side of the story, your understanding, what you think is the current situation with regards to, say, law and regulation compared to what they think. Because an investigation is about establishing the facts. At the end of the day, an investigation is simply about establishing the facts and then deciding if there is a case to answer further from there. So it doesn't really sound like they've done an investigation. It sounds like they've decided the outcome before they've even started.
Yeah, that seems to be the way they've operated. That Glider Marima thing, that was pretty much the same sort of thing. There was a required outcome, and they made the facts fit the narrative. And interesting enough, one of the investigators, Doug, that's investigating one of my current incidents. He's the guy that was instrumental in shutting down Glider Marymara, I was told by someone down there. Just walked in and said, we're shutting you down, sort of thing, and then we'll find out why later, basically. So it seems to be from observation, it appears to me as if that is a strategy that they use sometimes.
And what about the idea that somebody was sticking it to you with these complaints, slightly malicious complaints? What redress do you have to that, or is there none at all?
There's none, and that's the thing that got me started down this path of making an example of this, because I said to them, look, I'm not happy that I'm receiving all these constant complaints. Someone is weaponizing your complaint system to make my life a misery. What do you intend to do about it? And the response was, we don't care. So, well, if you're going to be a party to this, then I'm not going to accept that, and I'm going to fight back, and that's why we're where we are now. And I love the minister's letter, the letter from the Minister of Transport, having total faith and confidence in CAA. I have emailed him this morning pointing out that perhaps his confidence is a little misplaced because they can't even work out where my address is and conduct an investigation. He also said you should petition using the mechanisms available to petition for a rule change. So I sent him a copy of the petition that was filed in 2016 for just this rule change 4 years ago. And amazingly, it disappeared from the system. It was sitting in the queue waiting for people to be assigned to deal with it. And then it just vanished.
No.
So again, I'm saying to him, the system you recommend does not work. Do you still have confidence in CAA when they can disappear stuff that perhaps doesn't suit the narrative? So he should be rattling a whole lot more cages this morning at CAA, asking what the hell's going on.
And you're in an election year, aren't you? Does his chair get to move around if things change?
Well, it does, but I think we're pretty much guaranteed to get the same party in because of the whole CV19 thing. And I guess also it works against because the election's only a few weeks away, so he'll be busy campaigning rather than looking at important details. So I don't expect to hear anything back from him. I think that's our thing. Interestingly enough, though, I was invited to sit in on a symposium on the survey results from the CAA survey of drones in New Zealand. I've been told you're invited to attend and we'll send you the Skype address on Tuesday, and nothing came. I have received no Skype address. It looks like I've been disinvited. Perhaps they don't want the inconvenient facts appearing. Perhaps they see me as perhaps being a little too challenging to challenge some of the information they're presenting. It's best just to silence people like myself.
Didn't they just, surely, did it actually go ahead, that meeting?
Yes, being done virtually now by Skype and
but did it happen? Because they've actually,
yes, it happened this afternoon.
Oh, okay. Your
this
Model
afternoon
Flying
between 2 and 4.
Association even kicked up. Everyone's been kicking up about that because that really is just moving around the numbers again to suit the narrative that you want, or the story you want to tell.
So the last thing I want is me turning up and asking some really embarrassing questions about methodologies and how honest the whole damn thing is, and pointing out the great big holes in their survey data. We're the only country in the world that has more drone users than drones.
Come on.
And if we have 10 times the number of drone operators versus manned aviators, why is it that there are still more incident reports involving manned aircraft than there are involving drones? That means we are the safest branch and the most responsible and compliant branch of the aviation sector there is, because we're 10 times bigger, but we have fewer complaints against us.
Come on, you just have to say that using model RC planes improves sex life. So it's just a good...
I found that, Louis.
Yeah.
But it's how you use them that matters.
Yeah.
No, look, we've only been going for like 10 minutes. Let's not get, that's our 2-hour in sort of conversation now. The whole thing really stinks, that survey down there, and it's easy to pull it apart. I found if you're in the UK, you should be keeping an eye on the Bryce Norton airspace grab. Flyer magazine was speaking to a chap today, and even they're getting upset about it. And if it's allowed to go through, it's going to make not so much to our world, because it's going to be a little bit higher altitude, but if it's one of those thin end of the wedges things where if they can get that through, what are they going to get through next? And it's going to close all sorts of area of sky. For what bloody reason? They're making very good points, but things like Bryce Norton has it's RAF Bryce Norton. It's where the quick reaction aircraft, the tankers, head. One of my friends drives them, heads north out of there. All when the Russians come and aggress the UK, they come from the north. They don't come via Europe and London. So the tankers have to rush all the way up through the UK and clear all the airspace on the way. My argument is, why not base the tankers in Scotland and then not need all that airspace and not have a 2-hour transit up to the operational area that they used to. Anyway, so if you're in the UK, you need to look at that, and just some pressure needs to, we need to get to, actually, it's one of those instances where we need to get together with general aviation and the gliding and ballooning and even the model aircraft fraternity needs to get together and say, hang on, guys, this is not necessary for any of us. And make some noise. Anyway, I've ranted ahead of that. Sorry, were you going to say something, Mark?
Did you see Farnborough's airspace grab?
Well, that was because they sold it to an American fixed base operator, and that fixed base operator put that in the terms and conditions of the sale. So if you combine the airspace grab that Farnborough got and the one from Bryce, they almost joined together. So you've made a solid chunk. Not quite solid. I'm going a bit too far there, but you've made a real nightmare of airspace for general aviation to navigate. And as the chap pointed out on this video, which I should find and share on here, in one place, if you've got a 2,500 foot cloud base, to stay legal and apply by various things, it basically, and staying above the ground and blowing whatever, it's left general aviation a 400 foot gap to get through, to fly through the whole northern side of that. And as the chap says, that increases the chances, because your head's going to be in, because you're going to be looking at your moving map to avoid all this airspace, so you don't infringe it. You're not going to be looking out. You've got a 400 foot gap. It's actually increasing the danger for all aviators. And I was amazed. The guy from the governmental, or that speaks to the government, was saying we need to have a rethink of all lower airspace. We need to have a proper rethink. It's getting silly. It's getting too complicated. It's not fit for purpose, and we're designing it for air traffickers, not for airspace users. So I think we could all get on board with that sort of thinking. I don't know. And I'll stop talking.
Well, that's use space, isn't it? They want everything below a certain level to become what they're going to call use space, don't they, or something? They do want to layer it in some format.
They do, but they've got to sort of get the eraser out on all the other complicated bits of airspace that exist as well. They've got airliners are supposed to have, and the only reason Bryce wants so much airspace, as he explains, is because they want to be able to practice old-fashioned approaches in an easterly wind, which they do like 1/3 of the time. And they also mentioned that Bryce Norton doesn't have any form of electronic conspicuity detection. It only has radar, primary and secondary radar. It doesn't have ADS-B, FLARM, and OGM. And he's saying they really need to have that. And they only have 15 movements on a weekend, and yet they're going to want all of that sky, which is most of central southern England, closed for the weekend as well. So yeah, I've taken that off topic. Let's move somewhere else before we started. But I think there is an opportunity to move with general aviation and other aviators sometimes, and perhaps we should start thinking about doing that. Talking about airworks that's going on. You chats you're underwhelmed. Those of you, 2 of you that have attended so far.
Now the thing is this the worldwide leader in drones? Come on, give me a break. That's absolutely ridiculous. Even an open source project like ArduPilot can do better than that. That's absolutely appalling, the quality.
In what way?
Come on, have they presented anything new? What, showing up a new gimbal, do whatever? What are those guys doing in China? Having a vacation? Getting suntan? Come on.
There's no one left, is there? They've sacked them all.
Yeah, but they sacked the marketing and the sales guys, but all over the world except China. So because the guys that are left outside of China are like puppets to the puppeteers in China. So is this the real market leader? Is that the innovation that we want to see in the market, or is it already everything invented and we are just taking up the rest of what has to be done? Come on, we were expecting them to be more forward to technology. Come on, they've been surpassed by Skydio left and right and middle, because Skydio ate their breakfast. And if Skydio could, come on, if Skydio could implement a good commercial policy and a good distribution network, DJI will be done on the consumer level market.
Yeah.
Okay. There's several things here. Okay, I've been watching Airworks.
Oh yeah, you like that conference so much that
no. The conference is what it is. I think, look, they're feeling their feet for it this year. There's a lot of guest speakers and things like that. I think people have been wanting to look into this and expect, where's the all-new shiny? Okay, there's nothing new and shiny coming here. I think that's clear. The M300 was the last enterprise model we're going to see for a while. There's been a massive update for that this week. And actually, DJI have behaved more like a proper enterprise drone company in the way they've released this and the release notes they've provided and the update info they've provided. They put a big update out yesterday with a huge amount of info, unlike I've ever seen them do. They've never done that before on any release. You used to get a document which basically said, we've done this and some bug fixes. They've put a massive post out on their enterprise group talking about it and shared a lot more information. There's been some interesting things in it. A lot of it is talking. Now, I have to be a little careful what I say here for various reasons. DJI is certainly not stopped doing anything, and there's a couple of reasons why I can't say too much, but they almost feel like, to me, they're in a holding pattern. I've spoke to a lot of guys out with them in the last 2 weeks, and it is very much business as usual. I think everyone is expecting something new and shiny right now. And the reality is the world isn't in the place for it. I don't think DJI particularly is in the place for it. And I don't think the political landscape is in the place for it right now. And I honestly think there will be some big stuff to come, just not quite yet. Probably not this year. I'm not expecting it this year, but there are some surprises to come yet from them. There's nothing, I'm not expecting. People are sitting there, when's the Mavic 3 coming? That stuff doesn't matter. What's a Mavic 3 going to be? A Mavic 3 is going to have better object avoidance, a slightly better camera, and slightly longer flight time. They're all good now. Every drone is good now. We're getting to the stage of the same we hit when they hit the iPhone 7. They're all fast. They're all decent. They'll all do everything most people will want to do. You've just got to choose the model that best suits your needs. But there is some interesting stuff in it. There's some little hints they've mentioned that there's some new software stuff coming, and I think they're maturing. They're growing up a little bit, and you can talk about this. They've let some people go in various parts of the world, and I do think that's also part of growing up as well as a company. Have they retracted to China? Well, they're a Chinese company. Would we be saying anything if an American company pulled all of its people back to America, or a British company? ARM is a massive British company that contains all of its IP in the UK. There's been a massive amount of news over ARM recently where they're on about selling parts of the business or the Chinese part of the business. I think at times we do forget they are a Chinese company, and they are a proud Chinese company, and they want to be run out of China. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think at times people like to throw stones at it as well,
It's not so much a matter of throwing stones to them. It's just a matter of, with the clouds they have, with the resources they have, even the incremental benefits that their market could have would be more significant than we are seeing. The M300 is a good vehicle. Is it overwhelming? No. So
they're doing it
struggle.
properly.
You are going to struggle to make big leaps now, aren't you?
Yeah. It's
No doubt there is a big leap around the corner of something that none of us thought about yet. We haven't thought about the next thing that will go. We'll all go, wow, that was obvious, and why didn't we think of it? And there will be something around the corner, but aren't they not just growing into a place where they're making steady machines to do a steady job, 9 to 5? It's getting boring, which is a great thing, and that's a good thing. I think that the whole industry is getting dull. So it means we're growing up.
Well, they're growing up a bit. But look, we can all say the M200's had its problems. The whole M200 series. One of the big criticisms of DJI over the years has been half-baked. It's a term if you look around the forums. The product comes out with half of the features missing or stuff like that. So now they're not releasing products and updating the ones they've got. We're suddenly saying, what are they doing? It's this catch-22. This update for the M300 this week is huge. It's got a ton of stuff in it that people have asked for, and if they keep doing that, they're actually looking like
that goes completely against what you've just said, because about them launching off-baked products. If they had launched the M300 properly, they wouldn't need to do such a big
in the first place.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff though is user request. If you look in that list, a lot of it is what people have directly fed back, which is at the end of the day, when you're supplying a product, you take on board user feedback, and that's been a big issue with them in the past. They haven't taken on. I've been slamming my head against the door in beta tests before, going, just do this. We want this. I think it's going to be a slow year. I'm not expecting anything big out of Airworks at all this year, in the sense of products, what people think are going to come next and things. I think this year is going to be very muted from an aircraft point of view, especially. And then 2021, as the regulation settles, we'll start to see the consumer model. Then again, who's buying consumer drones right now? No one's got any money. We've got, if you take the UK, we've got mass layoffs. You'd have to be bonkers actually to launch a drone right now.
No, completely. So see the amount of people that are coming, trying to make money out of drones. Regular guys that are trying to sell aerial photography with Mavic Minis.
But they're buying the Mavic Mini. That's not 100 million of investment in a new product platform, and that's the difference.
I really think that they should have strived. They should present a GPS denied solution, a la in the way of the Skyview, and they're just taking too long.
What was that lot? There's another American company. I better go to a well-known drone news website, SGS News. There's other companies that stood that up this week, haven't they? They're basically doing the same. What were they called?
Well, Skydio have got one big problem. Skydio are making a fantastic product. You just can't buy it. And there is a simple problem here. It's one thing. It's all right. Everyone's saying it's better, and I would give this arm to get my hands on one, but I can't.
Well, one hand then, your hand then,
Ian, don't say it twice, because I'll take the arm.
It's all very well. You could have the best product in the world, but if you can't put it in customers' hands,
That's exactly what I was saying. At the moment, DJI does not have such a large technical advantage over the other manufacturers. What they do have is a good commercial network and a good distributor network, and that's commercial thing. And I think with the pulling back of their commercial sales and marketing people back to China, they might lose some of that. I'm not sure. It might be complicated.
Yeah, I can understand. I can see. Sorry, Mark.
One of the great things that's happening subtly is the bespoke developers are getting in where DJI, their kit. They're making this fantastic kit, but because it doesn't fit all the boxes, and because of the USA thing going on, we're not going to touch those machines. The bespoke developers are actually picking up quite well off the back of this, with DJI's niggles and pulling people back. People are now looking more bespoke, which is actually a good thing as well.
If I look at DJI, what would I do right now if I owned a company like that and there was all of this, hysteria in the news, good, bad, argue some of it's right, some of it's wrong, the Chinese thing in America, the anti-Chinese sentiment, the whole political situation. All I would be doing now is trying to pump as much existing product into the marketplace as I could and continue that until such a time where I know the market is going to go. And that appears to be what they're doing. Everything's available. Everything is widely available in numbers. There's no shortage of products. The hint when anything new's coming is look at the sales. The sales come.
But are they a drone company or are they a camera company?
I think you could argue they're an imaging company overall.
Oh, an imaging company. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, if you look at, they make gimbals, they make flying cameras, they make handheld cameras. Everything is based around imaging, isn't it?
No, it is. Maybe they'll pivot and zoom into other things shortly, Ian. Hint, hint. Anyway, in a handheld sort of pivoty way. But anyway, I can't tempt it out of him, can I? I see. No, look, he's mum. I can't tell
what he's talking about.
Don't know what he's talking about.
He's lost his mind.
No,
yeah.
No, look at that Defense Department initiative that they've selected the 5 drones, and they also have a recommendation for one of the open source stacks, and that is a sign of time. So people might not be affected by that. I'm looking at US. Might not be affected by that, but they'll take notice of that. And those open source flight stacks might get a boost from that recognition from the government.
But is it the flight stack, Bruce? Louis, or one company that seems to be taking all the credit for it?
It's one company.
No, it's one flight stack.
Seems to be one company taking a lot of credit for it.
Yes, yeah. I think we have to be very careful about that, because also it's not been confirmed that is what that company is saying it is. Oh, we got an email. Oh, God, come on then. If it's breaking news, what's the email then, Bruce?
Yes, I got it. Just received an email from CIA, and they said they've checked with their mail provider, and yes, that warning letter was delivered. What's the problem?
Oh, my God, I was going to read the letter. Come on, Bruce.
Yeah, and I've got a signature and everything. So why don't you have it, Mr. Simpson? Because I don't live there.
Wow.
Simple as that. Okay, so I've just advised them of that for your information. I'll read my response because I've just said, for your information, I do not live at 56 Arthur Street. I would have thought that attention to detail and accuracy were the hallmarks of a well-conducted investigation. Regards,
the kiosk prince making a point about
me. Sorry, regards me, hugs and kisses. You forgot the hugs and kisses.
Talking about security of open source flight stacks, you have to remember the military ATAC control unit is open source, and it's open source for a very, very good reason. It's just as you can take it apart, you can put it together, and you can see what it is, and all cards are on the table. As soon as you secure something and hide it, it's just like I've been teaching children about the Turing test and the Enigma machine this week. As soon as you know the secret, as long as you don't tell the other side you know the secret, then you save 2 or 3 years of the war. So once you've cracked the secret system, don't tell them you've cracked the secret system and you're there. Open source and it's on the table. Anyway, someone else want to stop me from explaining it badly?
The only thing I was going to say, I think eWorks so far has been some little interesting bits in it. We might see, I think there's hints of a new agricultural drone appearing online. There seems to be hints of that. I don't know if we'll see that in the next couple of days.
Speak about agricultural drones?
Not really.
That's the very one, Harry.
No, I was invited a couple of years ago to the launch, to the public presentation of the Agras, whatever. And we were at the farm, And the owner of the farm that had rented the farm to the presentation, he said, "This thing is not useful. This is just for a small garden in your backyard, because I have 100 hectares of farming terrain to pulverize. With this, I would take almost 1 year to do the complete pulverization of that. So it's no use." So that's only very restricted for backyard pulverization of whatever, and it's not very good unless they get some heavy duty and very large autonomy on those. It's just a gimmick.
Yeah.
Well, what we could do we could sorry, Ian, you go first, and
As I
I'll
say,
go
fill
with
it with
mine.
bleach. It's COVID. It's fill it with
I'll
bleach
fill it with
and
bleach.
spray.
Oh, God. There we go. Well, I was going to say what we could do is we could get a more useful sized aircraft, like, I don't know, a Cessna Caravan, for instance, and we could turn that into a crop duster and make it completely autonomous. Somebody's done that this week, haven't they?
Yeah.
That farm owner was saying, "Come on, guys, I pay 200 euros an hour of a crop duster, and he does half the farm in 2 hours." So
It's 400
where's
euros
the
job done, isn't it? Yeah. It's but no, other, on AWACS, it'll be interesting to see what comes from it. It appears to be the industry's growing up a little bit, or DJI, and a lot of it seems to be about software. That seems to be the biggest take about it so far.
That's my point. If it's software, why don't we get the gimmicks that others have given? And I'm sure they have it. I'm sure they're working on it. At least some curious guy there. Come on, even for instance, Pilot is actively developing GPS denied navigation. Come on.
But isn't their main problem is they have little islands of groups of people working on products, and they don't integrate those islands very well. They are their own nations.
But I think it's easy for us, what you traditionally find is that, Pilot is always very much at the forefront of putting out always at the latest of what can be achieved, but that's not necessary to mean it's usable from a consumer point of view. Let's be blunt, some of the stuff they put out is painful to use in the early days. I don't go there, you know it, and I know it.
No, we are past when we cross the 1,000 parameters threshold.
I know.
Right. Now, there's a difference between having something that I can set up on this bench, and me, you can do it, Louis, you can do it, Gary, Bruce, and then having something in a consumer product that's ready for the masses in 2 years. So I watched a cracking video, actually. I just say they were talking, there was a cracking video I watched this week where Steve Jobs interviewed someone, and his exact words were, people think they see the cutting edge of technology when they see it in a new product, but the reality is that happened 2 years earlier. And that is the same thing we're seeing here. Pilot sees stuff, does stuff 12, 18 months. It'll hit consumer 18 months, 2 years later.
Now, the thing is, I really think, and we've all seen what, and let's get back to Skydio. We've all seen what Skydio can do 4 years ago. And now it is mainstream. And 4 years ago, there were lots of people working on vision and GPS denied navigation. But we had a problem at the time that we didn't have cheap enough hardware to bring to an open source project, because it would be crazy to have $2,000 cameras, putting $2,000 cameras on a drone, putting a TX2 or a TX1 NVIDIA computer that would cost around $500, $600, and those 6 cameras, that would be nuts 4 years ago. But the prices are coming down. Come on, you can buy the stupid Intel cameras for $200 or $100 and something. And the tendency is to get them down. And like Gary said a little while ago, now we have the H7, so we can play around a little more.
Yeah, I think you make a point, Louis. GPS denied is the big thing everyone needs. GPS and magnet. These are the two areas that give everyone who does inspections problems right now, isn't it? It's magnetic interference and GPS, and when we can get to the stage of taking those two out of the loop and still being able to get the stability that we need to be able to take the images, the industry's going to jump quite a step forward again then as well, isn't it? It's going to open up a whole new set of options.
We are starting to see that on the open source market. Take, for instance, CUAV, which you mentioned the other day that you had the Nora. They have a specific model that uses some high-end IMUs.
Yes, they do.
And the price completely goes through the roof because of those.
That's the X7 Pro, isn't it? It's the X7 Pro, and it's
whatever. I'm completely lost with their board names.
It's like $3,000 or $3,500, I think it is, as you said. And
it's a crazy price.
But you say that's a crazy price. When I started playing this game, when Pontius was a pilot, you didn't even start talking below $10,000. You didn't even start. So it is a lot of money. Yes, it's a lot of money. But you have to keep putting perspective on it. And we're not talking 20 years ago. We're talking like 15 years ago now. So
if you took that controller from that unnamed company from earlier, that's thousands of dollars. Absolutely thousands of dollars. There's another high-end controller. There's a few more high-end controllers coming onto the market. There does seem to be a slew of these higher-end controllers hitting the market right now for clearly government or what appears to be government style aircraft. So it does seem to be an area that you're seeing more and more people get into. CUAV have and Artian or whatever they are called with that thing. If you have to ask the price of that, you can't afford it. Was basically what I was told. So something interesting I was going to say, Gary, while I remember. Did you see that Autel lost that patent? Thing
well, they were going to, weren't they? That was going to happen.
It's done and dusted now. Finally,
that was in the stars. Come on, we all knew of it. But come on, the lawyers have to make some bucks. So let's move forward with the patent and see what comes of it. That's lawyers talk.
And it's all fooling around in a market that I think Bruce mentioned in the comments earlier. I mean, I think we know that the consumer drone market ended 2 years ago. I think we can pretty conclusively say that now. So the manufacturer.
Sorry, Gary. And Ian, as you are a DJI insider, can you comment on the DJI FPV drone?
I know nothing about it. I honestly know nothing. If I did, I wouldn't talk about it. There's whispers, but the whispers are from the usual Twitter leaks in China. I know nothing. I have my thoughts. I spoke about it on Sunday on the live stream, and I think it will happen. I just don't think it will be what people think it's going to be. That's all.
So what's your thoughts on that?
I think they'll bring
$1,000 FPV drone?
$1,000 FPV to the masses, giving you cinema-style FPV footage. They'll use all of their stabilization technology to bring a FPV-style flying to the masses. All of the FPV people are thinking, they're going to give us a drone. No, they're going to give them... What DJI do best is bring that technology to the masses, and what they'll do is provide an aircraft which will have a proprietary battery, it will have GPS, it'll have all of the usual things people complain about with DJI, but I think what it will be is a FPV style quad that will allow you to get that that freestyle footage all the guys are doing on their GoPros.
Won't this be the one that'll have all the Skydio features in it?
I don't think this will. I don't think it will.
Isn't that a Mavic Mini with a fixed camera? So if they lock the camera on the Mavic Mini, you got an FPV style drone, right?
Yes.
So
You've got Rocksteady, which they've got on the Osmo Pocket Action. Sorry, not Pocket. You've got the Rocksteady, which is the first product DJI did proper software image stabilization on. They've not done it on anything else. So they can bring that on board as well and create, FPV for the masses. That's
There's
what
a problem
I think.
there. There's a problem. Have you ever tried actually flying a quad that has stabilization on the video feed? It is impossible because you don't know what the quad's doing until it's done it. You have to have two cameras to do that. Two cameras. One records and one flies.
Unless they
Unless
split
it's
the feed.
doing the flying. No, but it could be doing the flying.
Oh yeah, it could be. I don't see them bring. There's no point DJI making a FPV quad just like iFlight, just like all of the. You got about 3, and you, Bruce, are the ready to fly ones, 2 or 3 of the you've tested. What's DJI going to bring to that? There's no money in it. There's no market in it. No. What they'll do is they'll want to bring a product that appeals to the people who want to get that type of footage. The cinema footage is over. Most people don't want stabilized drone footage. It's boring. You see a guy flying across a beach looking down at the beach. No one wants that. What people want is that footage we saw of Rotor Riot last week where they were chasing the arrow.
But how many people are willing to pay for that footage? How many people pay
for GoPro cameras? Because action, it's excitement, and all I've got to do though is just strap their little whatever Osmo camera onto a drone and do it that way. But the Rocksteady on Osmo is nowhere near as good as the GoPro. GoPro have got that totally nailed. There's aftermarket software that will even further stabilize it because it records the gyro or the accelerometer outputs into the video, into the file, so you can then add extra stabilization after you've flown, and it makes that super silky smooth. I don't think they'll get quite the same effect unless they're doing something the same.
Remember, it's not for the FPV people, and that's where I think they'll win.
So how many FPV people are there in the world?
Not enough.
100,000, 200,000. But is it 200,000, half a million?
175,000.
Yeah, but all right, are there's over 1 million drone operators in America, apparently. Are there 500,000 of those all FPV flies? There's 500,000 in the world.
It's a very small market at the moment, but it's going to grow because people, as Ian says, are getting tired of this sort of static, fixed position camera, steady, stable shot stuff. They want the action stuff. And if you can give them a drone that will follow you on your trail bike, not just giving you super steady footage, but zooming around the corners and giving you the kind of shots they see on Rotor Riot and on YouTube, they'll buy it because they're getting bored with just having the GoPro stuck on their head and flying the Mavic around. They want something with more excitement.
And then you get all of the YouTubers to take it out on their skateboards, on their electric skateboards, on their electric bikes, and all of that stuff. And they'll create the second wave of FPV. What you'll have is just like you had with drones, and you had that first wave of everyone who built drones, and then the Phantom come along, and we don't like Phantom users. They're just people who fly drones. They spoil it for all of us, and you will get the same thing in FPV.
Except for regulation.
FPV
regulation, you can't fly FPV without a spotter. A lot of these guys like to fly on their own. If you have to have a spotter, well, it's illegal.
I think they'll create a market, is what they'll do.
Well, in the UK, if you've got an aircraft that's a certain weight and a certain category, when the new rules kick in on the 31st, if they do come, you will be allowed to have that drone follow you down the mountain and not keep visual line of sight on it. As long as it's within 50 meters of the pilot, of the operator. So as you're riding your bike down the hill, it can hit that tree because you're not watching what it's doing quite legally.
You think as well the market here. The market isn't all the FPV flyers. The market is all of the drone flyers who've already got aircraft, who want that next amazing looking footage. If you released a Mavic 3 today, it's still going to look just like the Mavic 2. It's going to have a few extra features. It's going to be a little bit better. But if you released a high-end FPV aircraft that had all of the smart technology DJI is known for, so it'll come back if you lose it. It'll survive a crash. It will allow you to get these smart shots, as you were saying earlier. All of these guys who are posting their footage online are going to look at that and go, I don't like my Mavic anymore. I want that. I want to show that footage, and that's where the market is. It's not the FPV crowd. FPV crowd doesn't matter. They're tiny, not important. It's about the people who want to be doing the next thing.
So what are they really building it for then? Who are they really building it for? Because if you're going to go to all that R&D research, I don't. would you really have another? What should we just, for argument's sake, let's call it another $500? You can have. So you're saying you've already got your Mavic, and you're going to outlay another $500 because it's a little bit cool in these current times. Louis, as those that are in the know fly little things like that, and you'll soon find it.
Because the thing is, for $80, you get the 3S drone that shoots, that does FPV and records at full HD, I believe.
And how long, Louis, will it take someone to learn to fly that? And I mean someone who has barely touched a drone before. Let's say someone who's had less than an hour on a Mavic. How long would it take them to fly that?
I can tell you that my neighbor that is a dog walker, I passed him the radio and switched to low rate, and he could fly it wonderfully. So
that's a niche of a niche of a niche market, isn't it? Dog walking drone flyers. My word, Louis' training school for dog walking as they go past my house, drone flyers. I mean, you're not going to make any money with that school, Louis. It's really not going to work.
The thing is, I can put one of these properly detuned, not tuned, in the hands of a novice. It doesn't have GPS, but come on, it costs $80. So this is almost, come on, I have batteries that cost way more than the entire price of the drone. So, and the Chinese are selling these with lousy goggles that Bruce reviews all the time, because Bruce is always reviewing goggles. But come on, this is just, if you break it, you don't cry too much. And it's hard for DJI to come up after these guys.
It's just, again, everything I'm saying is my guesswork on this, because I don't actually know a single thing. Something interesting Thing just said is, why did Klaus?
80 grams. So well below the Bruce's friends at CAA. 80 grams.
See, Klaus Print just said, why did DJ let the marketing people go? Don't worry, they got plenty of marketing people. You'll see more marketing than you've seen before with them. What's been let go is still small in the grand scheme of things.
Well, the sales and marketing people that were fired, right?
Yeah, there's not that.
It's the enterprise people that was more interesting. Yeah. But anyway.
But we'll see. I don't know. We've
been speaking for 40 minutes about DJI. Did anything else happen this week?
CAA?
Which CAA? Which CAA bit?
CAA. Swarming.
The one with the swarming today. Swarming. Yeah, Cap 722E. Chaps, do you want to take that away? What does that mean?
I've read it. I read the whole document earlier, but have you had a chance, Mark? Did you go through it?
I've only had a quick look, and it's basically you will need what we call an operational safety case. So it's an extra. It's just an extra way of operating. It's all 3 volumes of what they call your manual, and the crucial bits really was how the drone's going to operate in its volume of airspace. And they're very much right. You've got a swarm. Prove or show us technically how it operates and how much space they need, and to avoid hitting each other, and how they're controlled, and your emergency procedures in depth. They want to know that these 50 machines will stay where they're meant to. And interestingly, the one heist from the ground has to be able to give its position accurately as well, which I thought was rather intriguing. But
yeah, I saw that as well. It was quite interesting when it was very much more procedures, wasn't it? This is what we want you to do, or this is what we want you to prove before we let you do this. And there was nothing scary in there. It was more a lot of mitigation. What they wanted was you to prove how you mitigate them, A, not flying outside the bubble, B, how you're going to control them in the loss of a link failure, what redundancy you've got, what backup links, how you prevent jamming and things like this. And that was about it, really.
Isn't that going to be a copy-paste issue? Because Everybody's going to do some copy pasting of operations manuals.
No,
So-
you've got to fly with them, and they have to inspect one flight. When I read it,
Yeah. Well, they the thing is that way they laid out is exactly how all OSCs are produced in the UK. So all 3 volumes, they've basically said, but in volume 3, this is actually what we want to know now. So they just laid it out a bit more in volume 3, saying this is exactly what we want to know. Where your volume 1 operations manuals in the UK, volume 1 is so common. If you give me an operations manual from anyone, I'm willing to bet that just by looking at it, you could tell where it's come from, because they're just templated really now. They are really, unless you've got a specific machine or something really different in your fleet, because there's not really a lot that you can change anyway. It's much the same, really, to be fair, with everything.
I looked at the document and thought, I could have a crack at this. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing in there that I thought, oh, I don't know how I do this. It's all fairly straightforward.
The only thing I haven't got, and this is the thing I want, is those 20 to 50 aircraft.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want. Because bonfire night, what do we do bonfire night in the UK? We let off rockets galore. We don't care about the airspace. We don't care where they're going. We don't care what they're going to hit, where they're going to land, on your roof, on your shed. No one gives a rat's. But hang on a minute. All of a sudden, we've got these 50 odd drones or 100 drones that can replace fireworks. Fantastic. Pets don't get disturbed, or dogs, horses, no freaking wildlife anymore. And they're going to be far better shows than fireworks have ever been, because some of the stuff you could do to music is just going to be awesome.
I don't think we want to know about that. But anyway, moving on swiftly.
So yeah, I just want to be able to buy that set of drones. So if anyone can do that, produce a nice swarm for a reasonable price that's controlled, that'd be brilliant.
Well, it's there in ArduPilot. It is if you look in the ground control station, it is there. It's available. It's just that matter of affording the gear. What was I looking for? I was looking for
I've not looked at that in Ardu. I can swarm in Ardu.
You can, yeah. It's there. It's there already.
Ooh.
I'm just looking at the latest news.
You just need all those aircraft. That's all you need. That's all you need.
I know a developer.
I'm just looking for this week's news stories, Gary, on the latest news website. I'm just
the reason I put 50K, because again, also there is, and I'll put the link where it is. This competition here. If anyone fancies a pop, I'll put it over here, dear viewer. If anyone fancies a pop at winning this, both the PX4 and the ArduPilot stack can do what they're asking for in this competition. So just take your normal thing and go and try and win 50K.
Why is it that you see so many things happening and they're going, oh, it's a first, or we've done this and we've done that, or we want to do this, or you've got to be able to do this? Yeah, all you got to do is go and buy a Pix and get ArduPilot, and it's what they want. I don't. Sean is in the comments. Squishy is in the comments. He is Mr. FPV in the I think you'll kick me. I think I'm right in saying the Sacramento area over there in the USA, and he's seen everything reinvented over. We've all seen it, haven't we? I used to think it was about 18 months was the reinvention number for this industry. I now think it's about 6 months that everything's reinvented again. Maybe every industry has it. Bruce, you've probably got an opinion on industrial reinvention and its time scale. You'll have a good viewpoint on that, I'm sure. No. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, things are very cyclic. Very cyclic. That's all you have to say.
I mean,
there we are then.
People don't know what they want until it's released.
Especially helicopters, they're cyclic.
They are very cyclic, yes. Yeah. No, yeah, it is in industry leading, industry first, industry this, industry that. And of course, the second you see that, you start in your head, you mentally tag those things. I got a lot of trouble this week. Let me put that post up as well. I got a lot of trouble because, well, not a lot of trouble, but people moan at me. People don't half moan at me. And the reason they moaned at me was because I put a photo up. Hang on, I should have talk about something else while I find the story. I should have had this ready to go. Go on.
Did you notice that Boeing are going to use drone tech in their repairs to the MAX 8?
It's not called the MAX 8 now, though, is it? What's it called now? Or is that the new name for it now, is it?
Yeah, I don't know, but somebody said, let's hope it doesn't do flips and rolls then if they use FPV drone technology. And I said, that's what they're trying to stop, isn't it?
Oh, no. Gary said a little while ago, since we already have on open source flight stacks the H7 CPU, they're going to use the PixOx off the life on the Boeing. Perhaps they'll fly better. They don't. We need good support for canvas and for the airspeed sensors. That's it. We already have that on plane, and Tridge is about to launch a new version of Autopilot plane, so the timing is absolutely right.
When, Louis? What's the secrets? What's it? Version 5? Are we on version 5 yet?
No,
or is it
4 point whatever.
Is it a 4 point something? So that's a major release then, yeah?
Yeah. You see this picture here? I delivered it, and people that what the point I want to get over is people that read SES News, I think, generally know what's going on in the industry. And so she announced 7.5 million to 19 research places, which isn't a lot of money. And I deliberately put a picture of her with the US integration pilot program behind, because that's been canned. That's silently gone away whilst this money's come out. So that's why I put this picture up. And loads of people, well, not loads, a couple of people from a couple of universities was like, you didn't have to put that old picture in, you could have put a picture of us and our super duper systems in. And I'm just thinking, no, it's secret code, it's Easter eggs in SES News. You've got to know the Easter eggs.
7.5 million. By the
between
time
19
companies, and by the time they all do their consultancy fee, that's going to be like an hour's work off each of them, isn't it?
Come on, it's easy. How many? Divide the 7.5 million by Mavics, and then you have yours.
Someone built. Anyone going to admit to building their own code?
What?
No.
What?
In the comments.
Oh.
Yeah. Here it is. It's Squishy's right. Matek's running Canvas. Yeah, everyone's beginning to run Canvas, but is Canvas now a thing of the past as well? No, I know it's not.
No, Canvas is important. It's the future, Gary.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Just like ADSB.
Exactly. Well, it's all going to be V2X. I've learned another one. It's not V2V anymore. Now it's V2X. So vehicles to everything.
Now, this thing earlier you were about, we've got these 5 companies, because there's something's bugging me on this. And we've got these 5 companies.
Yes.
And then we've had one company come out and say how we're leading the industry.
But they're not one of those 5. They're not one of those.
They're not one of those 5 companies.
No, they're not. No.
And
yes, you're correct. That's the right answer.
Move on, is it?
No. It's all right. It's exactly like Gatwick. It's exactly like we have a counter UAS company. We've got some gear to sell. We're going to pretend it's at Gatwick, and everyone's just going to grab that and run with it, even though none of it was actually in the country at the time. Because
what you have, you have an open flight. We have an open source flight stack. Autopilot is fully open, as is PX4. However, there is no official commercial arm or version of Autopilot, is there, Louis? There's no sanctioned. No, there's no. Yet PX4 has this.
Alterian, PX4 has Alterian that is actively supporting PX4. and as some paid developers under their roster that develop specifically for PX4. Pilot has none. The pilot project survives from contributions of partners, so industrial companies that pay at least $1,000 a year. That's the minimum, and that's the most used contribution. And lots of goodwill work from Trich, Randy, Peter Barker, and a few others that I've been doing. We also have some interesting development, and especially from UK, a few guys that are finishing college, doing their masters and something, and some of them came in on board of ArduPilot with the GSOC project, so the Google Summer of Code, and we've been having some great contributions. It's a lot of work because you have to have someone from the core team to support those guys, those students. But for instance, all the vision stuff came in from Google Summer of Code proposal from a student. Lots of it has been already merged on ArduPilot, and we are pushing up with very limited resources. Ian, the biggest issue and the biggest contempt between PX4 and ArduPilot is the licensing, because the license terms of ArduPilot, anything you do on top of ArduPilot, the license makes you contribute back. And PX4, no, you take it as it is, and you can develop on top of it and close it, and you don't have to give back to the main branch. That's some say that is a more friendly, business-friendly license. I'm not so sure of that.
It's just interesting that we've got obviously we've got these 5 aircraft, which I'm assuming then must be running a version of this commercialized version of PX4.
I'm not sure.
No.
Some of them, I'm sure. Come on, one of them, I'm 99% sure it does not run PX4. The others, perhaps, and one of them, I have serious doubts that is running any sort of PX4. But that's
the rabbit hole goes deeper.
No,
I think sometimes least said, soonest mended. Look, with all these things, the truth will out. It may take a long time, and some people will choose to believe what they want to believe. But the truth will out. There will be winners and losers in this game. There are about to be more people announced from things I've been hearing. Look at the controller being made by the Ultivion people. They didn't get much of a mention in that press release, but they're all over that. So yeah, let's see what happens. And what is certain is it's nothing to do with the Trump anti-China feeling. All of this was a long way in process before any of that started. And DJI, they didn't even enter the process, but it was before all of the current ways of thinking, and it's getting a little bit conflated with all of that, and it shouldn't be. And I still worry. I still wonder if Skydio can produce enough units. I really do.
It's the big problem. They've got a consumer product that they can't sell to consumers, and they've got. So I do wonder if we'll see the same thing happen to them as we did Parrot. Obviously Parrot now have officially withdrawn from the consumer drone market.
Oh, I think it has. Yeah.
And I do wonder if Skydio, the S2 did what it needed to do. It brought in a bucket load of cash from an investment point of view, and it got them on the map to where the X2 now seems to be one of these products that's been developed for the US military. And I do wonder does the consumer market really bother them anymore?
Yeah, I know. No, Parrot's all right. Sean, Parrot, they're nice people.
Yeah, good guys. They're just not in the consumer drone market no more.
Yeah. And really quite an amazing product. In fact, tomorrow, DVR, I might yet try and do it live, but Louis is going to show me something tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be broadcast.
I've shown you today. Come on,
I know. Oh, come on! I'm supposed to hype things up. Oh, Louis.
You only learn at the second time. Come on.
Oh, bloody hell, Louis.
You got some America in your room, Louis. A little bit of USA in your room.
No.
No.
We can send him an invite to Ian.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll invite Ian as well if he's about at about 14:30 your time tomorrow, Ian. 15:30 my time. But there's a little bit of software. I'll try and make it a live stream, but if it isn't a live stream, it'll happen very shortly afterwards, and it seems quite interesting. And that involves some Parrot gear. Sasha, Louis will sort you out. He'll sort you out with that contact, I'm sure. There, Louis. What I did, there was something else I wanted to say. So the bottom line of that DGA conference is, like a lot of other conferences we've been to, in this strange time, it's making us wonder if we'll ever go to a conference again.
Yeah, in
real life.
FLIR have announced the camera. Line. I don't know if you noticed, FLIR have announced a payload for the DJI system, and it's FLIR who have announced it. But interestingly, a lot of what DJI were talking about was giving their third parties access to their manufacturing facilities. So whilst it looks like FLIR have said they've released a product, it just looks like a DJI thing. It looks like their gimbal. It looks like their product. So I'm guessing DJI are the manufacturing partner making it for them, or the gimbal aspect anyway. So is it really FLIR?
I know. When I went to one, it was in Asia, and the guy started it with, and I didn't do it to this one because we jumped in it. He started with "Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world." Well, oh, that sounds familiar. Well, that's how the webinar started.
Copyright strike.
Yeah.
I've been on 5, I think, in the last week, and one of them was very good, fantastic. 2 of them were good. The lightweight one was it lightweight? Yeah. That one was very good. That was very good as well. SF000. Have you ordered one? I want one.
I think there might be one hanging around. My mate might be getting one. But yeah, we're very happy with the products as is, and I'm sure the new one is fantastic with them. Did we see Huawei, however you say it, Huawei, are out to make sub $100 LiDAR units. So we get to that point, then why wouldn't you fit one? I'm sure we will get to that point very, very, very soon. They'll be in your wing mirror, your reversing camera, your everything, won't they?
Yeah. Once the car industry adopts them, and you'll see them a lot more wide-ranging consumer aspects, blinding children at every opportunity, burning their eyes out.
Ian, I sent you an invite to join in.
Oh, thank you.
It's very good. So we'll do that. Hopefully, dear viewer, at about 13:30 GMT tomorrow. Right, yeah, GMT 13:30, 14:30 local UK, 15:30 Europe. So Central European time. What?
No, it's not Central Europe. Come on, it's UK time.
Is it? Oh, I don't know. Be at some o'clock tomorrow when the sun's up for most of us.
Yeah.
So what else have we seen this week, gentlemen? What else have we seen?
The X-Wing with the Cessna Caravan.
Yes.
Was interesting.
Yes, the completely autonomous Cessna Caravan, the big manned aircraft 208B turned into an autonomous aircraft. Funny old thing. And what's the most successful large-scale electric aircraft to date? Oh, it's a Cessna Caravan from Magnet X. So, it's all coming together for. And what's the next aircraft? That's the 2 new aircraft Cessna are bringing out. Oh yeah, it's the updated Cessna Caravan, and it's their version of the Twin Otter. And are they completely electric and glass cockpit? Oh yeah, so they are. Oh, are they ready to be converted? Oh, so they are. Yeah. Hello, Jeremy. Yeah, it's the there's no doubt for that large cargo market where it's going to go. They'll be so useful in Africa, anywhere. But hundreds of people know how to fix those PT6 engines. Hundreds of people know how to fix the airframes themselves, and there are hundreds of places for them to land. Why wouldn't you do it that way?
It's just, so many people, drone delivery, we're going to reinvent the wheel. Well, hang on a minute. This thing can carry a few hundred kilos. You don't need to redesign the aircraft. They've already got a cracking aircraft. You've got a cracking, reliable engine. And like you say, everyone can service it. Why? What? Yeah, it's like making a new biplane. Why would you reinvent the wheel?
Well, I feel there's a space for new biplanes. I mean, obviously the talented people didn't get hold of the idea, and the talented people now could make it much better.
We want a supersonic biplane.
A supersonic biplane, that's right. Well, yeah, I must admit, I've fallen into a bit of a rabbit hole of playing with things like Blender and all the other stuff, just because I feel I need to be back on top of it all. So I can't say I'm actually going anywhere useful with it, but I am having a lot of fun trying to learn how to use Blender, but it's way above my pay grade, but my word, it can do some stuff.
Unity. You should try to play around with Unity.
I am. Yeah. I'm doing that as well, largely because a cabal of 11 and 12-year-old boys want to be able to use Unity at school, and so I am being forced to try and get ahead of them. Well, they'll get ahead of me. They'll get well ahead of me. They'll get well ahead of me very quick, which is fine. So I just have to hold tight and be able to nod in the right place when they say whatever words and seem like I know what I'm talking about. That's all you do. You just got to fool them.
I have something good for you, Gary. If you're on that side of the fence, try to install AirSim, which is the simulator of Microsoft. You can connect Citl to AirSim, and that's a nice development strategy. So.
Not another rabbit hole. No, not another rabbit hole. I am Googling it right now, though. But the Blender thing's a bit weird. It's feeling like I've got a new hobby. It's not like, there's no imperative to design or make something or whatever. But it is just purely for it's just quite interesting. And
I've been on the Blender wagon from 3-point-something version. And each time a new version comes up, okay, back to school again. So because
real men use Povray.
Oh, exactly.
And don't forget, Gary, that since you're on it, don't forget your Fusion 360 chops that you'll need.
Well, the thing, Dan, that's why I went back down. I used to also use Blender a lot. I used to be pretty good with can't even remember SketchUp, where it used to work for me very, very well. And I have got Fusion 360, and it's all Greek to me, and it makes me even more impressed. All these youngsters that we see producing their videos, that young guy in England making the power boats and all that, and they go, and then I designed this, whip, and then I printed this, dick, and I did this and I did that. It impresses me more and more what those youngsters are achieving, and they don't get.
No, you're being fooled by the editing chops of the videos, because
right then.
Videos are, and ask the gentleman over here. Ask the gentleman over here how long it takes to get one of those crazy planes flying over Tokoroa or something like that. Now, it seems quite easy to see Tom Stanton or one of those guys playing around and printing the stuff. Come on, everyone that has a 3D printer knows that 3D printing is a waiting game. So you just put it to print and go to bed, and next morning, hopefully it did print. Come on.
Oh, for sure. Oh, come on. We just can't be the old gits that just give youngsters a hard time. Come on.
Oh, why not?
Oh, all right then. Does that mean we've earned the ability to have a pop at them? I suppose it does in some ways, doesn't it? But it is amazing what they can produce now. And if you, it is amazing that the youngsters that I teach at school, if they're wound up the right way, they set off and go. And you've just got to be able to point them in roughly the right direction. And the aim of the game is that they outstrip your ability and everything. And I love that. I think it's very cool. Let's get off. Why are we going? Why have I taken us down this road?
And it's funny because Blender, as you know, is also open source and had a curious beginning, not as open source, and then first as open source, then as somewhat closed source and commercial product, then back to open source, and now with the Blender Foundation. Yeah,
he got back into it, didn't he? The original guy sort of bought back into it, didn't he? Yeah.
And it's a curious and understated story of success of what a good open source project can be with their foundation and all that. Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, and I like it. I have it here on a PC. I have it on the Mac because that's the thing I like the most, which is cross-platform applications. One of the reasons I get so nasty about Mission Planner is, you know what?
Yeah. I've gone down the rabbit hole. There's the link to AirSim for the others that may want to join me down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, you need a very powerful. It's something that I think is the latest trend at Microsoft. It doesn't matter the kind of hardware you throw at the application, it will max it out. AirSim really needs a powerful GPU. Flight Simulator 2020, there is no good enough GPU for Flight Simulator 2020.
I was watching someone try it on literally the top end 2080 top of the card, and it was just melting it, and you were just like, what are they doing here?
What's that, AirSim or the Flight Sim?
Flight Sim. The Flight Sim. I
thought it was interesting that the that building in Melbourne where somebody had put multiple stories for it in. But what the most interesting part of that was that they've taken the height data from OpenStreetMaps for most of the world. So that was pretty interesting.
I come really close to ordering it this week to have a play with.
I really like on Flight Simulator 2020. I really like that the new office center right in the middle of London, where Buckingham Palace used to be. Now they've made it an office center.
I was tempted to order it. The only thing, it doesn't crash well enough for me. You know, when you crash, it just says you crashed and it ends.
No. It doesn't say anything. Just a black screen. Been there, done that.
Yeah, I want flames. I want a debris field.
No flames, no bodies. Forget it. Nothing. We already have enough of that, so you don't need more from Wales.
Does anybody want to buy? Anyone want to buy unmannednews.com? I can. Somebody will sell it to you if you want. I can send you on that way. If you want. Anyone want to buy that?
Are you asking for someone to set up in competition, Gary? Is that what you're saying? Is it?
No, it's just one of the multiple emails I get to buy domains all the time. And
how about SUASAS US news? Is that?
I don't know. Just one, and then the other one I've got is just right for me. I don't get interesting ones like Bruce, and it doesn't sound from Velam Islam from Bangladesh. We need the right person for the Prices surveying drone. Sounds legit, doesn't it? I'll find them the right person. Yeah.
I don't know why, but I get so much stuff from India. We can do this for you. We can do that for you. We can do. It's incredible.
I get the amount. I don't know if you've noticed it, Bruce. A massive increase in scamming emails towards YouTubers at the moment.
Yeah, I can't. I've been sending them out for days.
Yeah,
have you got them?
It's Hey Friend, or the game ones is a big one. We've got something we'd like to advertise. We've got $10,000 we'd like to advertise on you, and I just, it says Squarespace or something, and you just think, no, that's a scam. It's got to be a scam.
No. For you, Ian, only chairs.
Only
You might-
Cheers, yeah.
You
Cheers
might
make
do-
no money anymore. Cheers don't make any money anymore, Louis. That's past it. You're in the past. You need to get to the future. That's history.
So now
What's the future then?
I don't know. I haven't found that yet.
Standing desk. So you drop the chair and you have a standing desk, right?
I'd love a standing desk. I would love one of those sit-stand desks.
Well, just
I'd
stand
want
up
one.
then.
Yeah, I'd want one you can
Just
sit down.
stand up.
Stand up, put your desk on blocks, man.
3D printer. Come on, Ian. You have a 3D printer. You just print some but you have a standing desk.
Printer mechanism. I would love a standing desk. It would be awesome.
Just charge another light and watch it all go up.
And
Yes.
just to your comment about Teams there, Bruce, I see it in the comments. Doesn't that run in Chrome and in Linux within the browser?
I don't run Chrome.
Oh,
I don't
or
run Chrome.
Firefox?
I run open source stuff. As far as I'm aware, they do have a watch facility, but not a participate facility in the browser. You actually, if you want to speak, you've got to have the Microsoft software. Apparently,
So what browser
I've
do you
been told
use?
anyway.
Pretty much
So-
all of the video conferencing ones like Chrome now. That's what I've noticed, don't they?
yeah, I use Firefox. Works brilliantly.
I was going to say Netscape, but okay. Firefox.
Escape.
Well, that is Netscape, Louis.
Yahoo.
It's,
It is
it's gone on a bit
Netscape.
since you were a lad in short pants.
I'm using the AOL built-in browser these days. Do you remember
I've
that?
got that DVD here, CD here
Yeah.
somewhere. Not DVD,
Do you,
CD.
do you remember when you used to get the CDs in the post from AOL? Yeah.
Hang on, I've got mail.
You've got mail. There you go. Full of a sandbag. Oh, here we are. I know. I wanted to note this thing and say, can anyone remember the history of this thing? Just remind me, what was the history of this thing? Didn't that start as an open source project, and then a Kickstarter, and then
It's definitely a Kickstarter. I remember that.
was it a Kickstarter?
I'm sure it was.
Because that's donkey's years old, isn't it? That thing, and it's just come to market. But I'll have to Google it. I thought one of you would know. I thought one of you would have an instant answer to that. That's terrible. So, what else do we know? Pineapple oil news parts. Oh yeah, Jeremy's giving you advice for your chair there.
Palapolio US parts of
Yeah.
should be enough to. Yeah, oh yes, that would get me standing.
Yes, absolutely. So, what else do we know?
Well, what else? Airworks. We know that Ian knows more than he is willing to say. So
Let me just zoom into a minute. I'm zooming into him, and I'm keeping very steady when I'm doing it. And it's almost like I'm gimbaled as I look at him. It's almost, yeah, almost. No, but I'm not. Plainly, I'm not.
If it's DJI, it'll have a slight angle to it,
Okay.
just like many of the cameras. Something interesting you said earlier, Gary. I don't want to bring JJ up again.
Oh, go on.
Interesting about China. China don't have a native camera manufacturer, do they? If you it's been a huge amount. If anyone follows the photography industry, Canon are burning everyone's houses down with their cameras now because it doesn't work properly. Bruce will know what I'm talking about with this. But
Not if you leave the battery door open.
no, if you leave the battery door open and jam a screw into it, you get to use it for more than 10.5 seconds.
Is that really the fix? Is that what people are doing?
Yes, basically, the fix is if you jam the battery door open to basically tell the camera the battery door is closed and pull the battery out while it's on, it resets the timer. Unfortunately, the website in such that found this information blocked me on Twitter because I called him a few nasty names. Well, no, I didn't call him a few nasty names. He was being very rude to Philip Bloom, and I like Philip Bloom, so I told him what I thought, and then he blocked me. But anyways.
Can you block people? Oh, how do I do that?
I know.
What's
you
your
can block
address?
people on the So
If only I'd known this earlier.
EOS HD has blocked me on Twitter because I called him. I wasn't particularly nasty. It was truthful. But interestingly,
The smells of elderberries.
Just regular nasty like he always is,
Anyway,
People
China
don't-
doesn't have a native camera manufacturer, do they?
It has. Yes.
That's
And RunCam. What about RunCam?
I mean, from a consumer or professional camera
Come on.
market,
Look
if
at
there
the
was
price.
any company who do this, it would be DJI.
Look
Wouldn't
at the price of the pro versions of these.
Oh, I know
get-
that. Yeah,
You'll get the price.
it's not an A7R3, is it? Or 4, I should say. Yes, it is.
Do you really need a 7R4 or a 7R3RS?
I want one. There's a difference between
Haven't they
needing
bought
and wanting.
Olympus? Hasn't China bought
Keep it up,
Olympus recently or
gentlemen.
something?
I'll be
They must buy a
Yes.
camera manufacturer.
That's interesting. That's a point, isn't it? The same company who bought Lenovo, if I recall, Bruce. Now you've said that, wasn't it? Which was IBM.
Yeah, it's Lenovo.
Lenovo.
Yeah.
It's been quite funny to watch this whole Canon thing, though, isn't it? If you look at it, it's been like, really?
I noticed the Canon ambassadors coming out in strong defense of the product, even though the Sony looks a whole lot better.
Sony bloody works. That's the difference, isn't it? It's.
And I think that I have to say on good things from Sony, they were quite close with their development and the SDKs, and I needed to contact them for the SDKs, and they were quite helpful. So if people need something to do, something that is not on the instruction manual, there are ways to go around the menus, which those cameras are getting. Come on, Ian, we were complaining a while ago about 1,000 parameters on our pilot. Go and try to browse through all the menus.
That's so simple.
On this,
Simplicity itself.
right. Panasonic is fine. Sony, that's an A6400. That has 12 pages. Of each one has another 3 pages below it. It's shocking. Absolutely.
I love the way they use a random number generator to rearrange the menus dynamically, so they're never quite the same as last time you used them.
Well, the problem with Sony is they call things some really strange names. Panasonic's pretty good. Canon's okay. Sony will call things a name, and you'll just go, "What? What does that mean? That don't make sense." Don't know how we got on that. Anyway,
But it's always good if it's got the word Sony in it. But that's the
Yeah, no,
people of
but
our age think that.
Ever since Sony put a rootkit on my computer because I was copying CD-ROMs, I've had enough of them. When they put the software protection that rooted your PC.
oh,
But I think if you're a certain age and Sony has more of a cachet to it than what the youngsters,
The Trinitron.
the young
They
folks
should
are.
never have stopped making
The
the
Trinitron.
do you remember when that came out? That was like the best telly in the world, wasn't it? Because that was the flat ones, wasn't it? That was the flat tube, the Trinitron.
Yeah, it was curved only in one dimension. It was flat the other dimension. It's a brilliant piece of technology.
Yeah.
Sony Betamax.
Yeah.
Quite so.
Yeah,
And mini
but-
disc.
Quite so.
Mini disc, the CD. Sony
Yep.
invented the CD. Sony.
The mini disc. What about those those SD cards by Sony? The memory sticks.
Yes, that's right. Yes, the long thin jobs.
What they call
Yes.
Memory Stick Pro or something like that.
Memory sticks, and then memory sticks pros.
Yes.
Stupid PlayStation Portable will only take those stupid memory sticks.
That's how you make money, Louis. It's like printer ink. You make a really cheap product and then charge a fortune for the bits you put in it.
Do you remember when Sony lost the Betamax VHS war? They lost badly and they lost loads of money. They turn around and when they launched the Blu-ray, so when Blu-ray came out, Sony says, "We're not losing this. This is why it's in the PS3."
And it should have lost. It should have, hey, DVD, what was it? DVD?
Toshiba had an option.
Toshiba, was better, cheaper to manufacture, but Sony won on marketing.
They went hell for leather. They went, "We're going to give it away with the PS3. We know it's a bit of a market loss to begin with. We're just looking long term. We refuse to lose this time." It was incredible.
And no. And there's something else that it doesn't have to do with the that market, but it also has to there's a company called Sony Pictures, and if they close the tap for HD DVD, then you're doomed.
Yeah, they signed a few studios, didn't they? If I remember, Sony Pictures managed to get a few big studios on board, and I think it was either Universal or Paramount through it in the end. Might have been Universal, and because I had a HD DVD player.
I still have Xbox One with the external HD DVD player. Come on, that's the advantage of having worked at Microsoft, so you could get them cheaper.
I've got an Atari 400.
Nice.
That too. And do you have any kind of this?
No. I should have had a 2600. I love the 2600. That was the best.
There is something about Sony, isn't there? Sony has always been a brand where you just felt quality. I always wanted Sony to buy GoPro. I always felt Sony could do something with GoPro. But
actually, no, Sony went downhill in a big way because I used to buy Sony VCRs because they're really good. And then I bought the last Sony VCR I bought. I took it back. It was crap. It had all these features and bullet points, but the quality of the recording was atrocious compared to the unit I'd bought 5 years before. They'd forsaken the basics for the frills. Yeah. And that was a trend, I think, in consumer electronics. And I wasn't having any of it. So I told them that I didn't want it.
Well, all the Japanese manufacturers struggled, didn't they, for a bit? Panasonic. Well, they are. They still are today. The Koreans.
Any of you?
Jeremy's right adding Atari to the standing word.
You can't get a word in. You can't get a word in.
You can't. Sorry, go on, Mark. Sorry, go on, Mark.
I don't mind. Did you guys ever? Any of you guys ever have a Laserdisc player? Then, as soon as we're talking about good old stuff, do you remember?
My dad repaired fruit machines and Space Invaders and all that, and we had the one with was it Dragon's Lair or something like that with the Laserdisc player inside, because things used to come home to be fixed for like 2 years. So we had.
Wasn't it quite common in those machines, Gary? I didn't realise that Laserdisc was quite widely used inside some of those
not
machines.
Many. A few. There was like a flying one. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a space through canyons and things. And then there was the MSX brand of computer that had the ability you could run multiple tracks on those Laserdiscs.
It was a Microsoft thing, wasn't it?
Was MSX? Was it?
It was Japanese. The Japanese consortium. I think Microsoft bought into it or something for making software for computer games, or a platform for computer games.
Yeah, but you could run the disc, and then you could just jump the story to whatever the next chapter was. You could jump around. So we looked at that with a and
mini DV. Did Sony create mini DV as well? Off the top of my head, I think.
I had one of those. I had one of those cameras.
Yeah,
they did high 8 digital. A mini DV, I think, was an industry standard because I got a Panasonic with mini DV, but I don't know that Sony did that. They had because they had the analogs, and then they used the same basic cartridges with the digital encoding, and that was very popular. So I think
let's talk about soon, Brian. I don't know what
hard 6 to 8-inch floppy disks, shall we? 128 kbytes on a disk. Those were the days, and they were high quality bytes too.
Did you see the Boeings that have been retired this month? The big ones. Some of them are still being updated today via floppy disk. Yeah,
747s. Because the Max 8's gone to DAT tape. It's really good.
I swear, I will never get, and I don't care who tells me it's safe, I will never get on a 737-8 ever again. I will never step foot onto one of those.
Damn, so close.
Yeah, that's why they're changing the name, you see.
Yeah.
They do, because they want you to not know you've stepped onto one.
It's now the Boeing Super Safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it the Boeing 757 that had the LiPo battery problem?
Yeah, the
7.8
7.8
out the back, 7.8.
Yeah.
Richard, we have spoken about the X-wing, the Cessna, and the cargo delivery. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? And it leapfrogs. I see the ex-head of Airbus was talking about urban air mobility this week, and how all the naysayers are wrong, etc., etc. And people are saying, "You see, the ex-head of Airbus said it's all cool." It's like, no. No.
How much was he paid for that?
I mean, how could he be wrong? They gave us the A380.
Quite so.
Yeah.
It's amazing how they're getting parked up now, isn't it? And Durban Airport was remodeled for the 380, and the only 380 that comes into Durban Airport is the British Airways training flight. They come and do their circuits down at Durban, and then they bog off back to England. So they come and do their training here. There's not. I don't think there's been one landed there in anger ever in the history of the airport, and they made all the taxiways the right size. It's got the right gantries and everything for it. Never been used.
The only reason Airbus are looking at urban mobility is because there's a hell of a lot of Airbus helicopters that would lose their piece in the market if that happened.
Yeah, I think they're playing, and Bell, and funnily enough, I think Bell actually in that Bell APT 70 has got one of the best looking platforms at the moment, and it's nothing like their helicopter platforms. But forget that thing that's the big.
What are you saying about Ken Muller's craft? Eh? What are you saying about Ken?
Well,
Muller?
obviously, Mr.
He's a groundbreaker in more than one, more ways than one.
Of course, but if they've got Bell have got that thing which they shuffle around to air shows, where they sit with a big ducted fan, which is really the X47, whatever it was, updated. But their actual one is the APT 70, and that looks great. That's got the nicest looking transition I've seen of any of them. So that wins it for me. It's a win for me. But yeah. I think they've all got to have a play in it and look around it, but I can't see it. Big Electric, there's already an electric R44, so that's I think the R66 is all hydraulic, so that'll be the one to convert to the big unmanned, optionally piloted vehicle.
Well, there's someone that did that to an R. One of those small.
There's an R20. There's an R22. That Russian lot have got an R22 going, but it's a little bit more complex in that it's all mechanical stuff in between. So you've got to bodge how you do it a little bit.
You just need some hydraulic actuators, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, but if it's already made, if it's already got it on board, it's a lot easier, isn't it? It's a lot easier. And the Caravan, they're using the Alias system, I think, to drive that. But yeah, that's.
Did you see Elon Musk, who said the electric planes are years away? He actually turned around the other day and says, 2 years, we'll have the battery from Tesla that will be good for planes.
Well, again, the Magnex, the converted Caravan is probably the best example of that out there at the moment. Again, the same airframe. Oh, the airframe that everybody knows. It's already certified. It already has airfields. It already has people to fix them. That already has the right size trolleys for taking the cargo on when you get it to the airport, etc., 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 and the built-in infrastructure.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, really, isn't it? But also, did you see Nats for the UK turn around and says air travel across the UK is a lot quicker now? So if you wanted to fly from London to Scotland, your flight is now quicker. And the reason being, they don't have to route you around all the air traffic that's going on because there's not a lot flying. So it is straight across the country as a crow flies now. For the UK, it's like there's no need to send you round everything because there's nothing really flying, just point and go.
Yeah, I think all of that's on the cusp of an open sky policy where you don't, because remember the only reason you need air traffic controllers is because they invented airways, put all the airplanes within the airways to give them more of a chance of hitting each other. So then you need someone to keep them apart. And by doing
watching
that,
David Gunson, I can hear coming out from you there.
When you go to air traffic school, Ian,
yeah,
when you pass out, you have to listen to that. We had to listen to that.
What goes up might come down. One of my
That's
favorite.
right. Now what we're looking at here, we're looking at NOTAM, or we're looking at. Oh, is this from his? Is this from his? From his?
This is from his death machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I've just picked up this 38 kilometers away. Picked up an aircraft with the with the ADS-B alarm. Here we go, getting some stuff through this coordinates, and yep, it's 38.38 kilometers away at the moment, and that's not bad considering it's just.
And that's on the desk there somewhere.
That's
down there on the printer.
That's time to hide in the basement. 38 kilometers. You don't have much time to go back to the basement.
So that's not bad. I'll have time to get out of the room before it hits.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm having a look.
Waiting for some smarty pants guy to pick up Flight Simulator 2020 and put an ADS-B transmitter on it and create havoc on, because it really receives the data from the live. If you turn on the live data, you can even the traffic chattering. So if someone puts ADS-B out on a PC, it's going to create some nasty things.
It's SKL3 is the call sign, Gary, if you're looking on flight radar.
Can you see it in my eyes?
Yeah, reflection. It's currently 21 kilometers away.
We can read it on your retina.
You can read it on my retina. Yeah, I'm that sort of fellow where we are. Let's have a look, shall we? Let's look together. So you're TKZ, are you? NZT0. SKL3, was it? Says the 510. There he is there.
Yep. 18 kilometers away now.
Oh, what have I done there? What did I do then? I did something.
You've broken the internet.
So is it using GPS locally to know where you are then, Bruce? Yes.
No, it's GPS is on the aircraft.
Your GPS is on the aircraft, but you establish your origin point either by setting up coordinates ahead of time, which you can have a table and say, I'm operating from this regular place, and you press the button, that's your site. Or you can, once I've got the app finished on the phone, you can say from here, and you press on the phone and it Bluetooths to the thing and transfers that as your point of coordinates. And because it knows your altitude with GPS, it gives you the aircraft's altitude and its height above ground, which is very important, because if it's flying below 500 feet, you need to file a complaint with the relevant authority.
So are you taking 1013 and then adjusting it? Because the aircraft are on 1013. So you need to adjust that to get your AGL.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because you know the offset, because you've got your own GPS altitude above
So you
get the altitude and the height, which is important. Yeah, and if you can set up so that if it is flying within your area at below the mandated minimum, it will actually track the whole flight. So you can then pass that on to the regulator as proof of a non-compliant flight, which must be a threat to aviation.
So is this about safety or reporting, Bruce? Is this
we are fighting back.
Or reporting?
There could be a hell of a lot of more incidents reported to aviation regulators once this gets widespread.
Now, are you going to build in a nice quick submit form?
I could do, but it's open source. People can grab this and just make relevant customizations for their individual countries, I suppose.
God, Ian, that's a good idea.
Built-in submit form.
Just click bing on your phone and off it goes.
Well, our just group of nerds with our receivers around and about here, we did track a sling that we know full well is a bit prone to a little bit of low flying, and we followed him completely down a river valley. And they have no idea, because normal conventional air traffic services would not have had I know they don't have the coverage. And we followed him about 150 Ks, not above 1,000 feet. You would definitely, I don't know. I don't know what the authorities
send feedback button, we call it, Bruce.
Send feedback.
Here in New Zealand, it's a 005 is the form that you fill out to make an incident report about GA. So we'll build that in.
Self-population with all of the relevant data.
Bruce, how hard would it be to get one of those forms pre-filled? Just fill up the coordinates and send it via...
All you need to put is your own details, like who you are, to meet the requirements, and everything else will be filled in by the app. That'll be the way to do it. Just press the button. Destroy. Ooh.
And make sure that it just pulls a little bit of flight map as well. All the time he's below or she is below 500 feet, send them the map portion, and just ask for comments. Oh, you'd be so many more people would be even happier with you then, Bruce, if you were to roll this out. You'd be popular.
I don't think CAA would be, but I mean, do I care?
No. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
We are such a good friends from Bruce. We're just trying to make him go to jail every week.
If it's that serious, the CIA can't monitor it, mate, because they haven't afforded the equipment. It's just at the top of the show I was talking about Bryce Norton and then Airspace Grab. They don't have the capability to receive electronic conspicuity at that huge airport.
And they can't even afford a telephone book.
Well, yes, that's also true there. I've been using iForce 2D's fantastic instruction videos in that Aero VSP thing or whatever it is. Another one of the rabbit holes I've fallen down. So if you're worrying about that, Chris has got them. He's got great videos for that. And it's about time we saw another video of something he's built. It's been a long time. Come on, hurry up with your comments. People should not be afraid of government. The government should be afraid of the people. Well, yes. Can't disagree with that, I don't think. Right, as someone has said earlier, it's been a ranty long thing as ever, as we seem to do. What other news has anyone seen? Going once, going twice. Blender is a real piece of work, yes.
One thing I have got is in the UK, the insurers, so drone insurance, they are looking to want a flight test for the new A2 if it comes in. It looks like some of the insurance, the underwriters want some sort of paperwork to say that you have been seen to fly and you're competent with your drone in some format. Or you'll be paying a premium for not doing it. It doesn't look like it's coming from the CAA. It's nothing to do with them. But I was speaking to one insurer in the UK and they're like, yeah, the insurers are looking at this and going, we want a flight test. So it could end up being interesting.
Well, that's what I've always said. The insurers have the handle on doing the risk analysis.
Yeah. And that's where the problems are always going to be with this, because at the end of the day, they need to mitigate their own risk. And if you're going to have someone who could go and do this online test, it's still online, isn't it, Mark? Yeah. You know, the online, they can then fly Spire 2 size craft under A2. 4 kilos A2, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's that not
size. Yeah, not transit, but I mean size aircraft. If you take in do something that would fit that sort of size, it's a big bird. You know, it's a bird that could do quite a lot of damage. You know.
Oh yes. So Inspire going awry would never be pretty.
No. You know, you could almost argue it could do as much damage as that M600. That didn't do any damage to anyone. Oh, the S900 that did no damage to anyone at all. Didn't kill any children. Nothing when it crashed.
Only the pride of the operators. He just shut down the pride of those operators completely.
Yes, it dented that. Yeah.
It killed his soul.
I'm glad you said operator and not pilot.
It killed his soul.
Pilot or the second pilot? I don't know.
So I think it's going to be. It could end up being interesting, and that is, of course, if they actually bring in the A2, because as they bring in the regulation, we leave the EU. So it's at the minute there's such a can of worms, and I've got students that have done the A2. They've lost a lot of time, and the CA is going, well, if you get a problem with it, just give them our email address, tell them to contact us, and they'll take the flak. And I'm thinking, you'll take the flak, but, what happens at a certain point if those people now, I mean, the first RAE to do the A2, they must have done their first courses around January.
Yeah, it was the start of the year, yeah.
You imagine how much time they may have lost, because the A2 starts at the time you do the exam as well. So the moment you pass the exam, that's when your A2 would have started from the time. Now, if you do the course and you do the exam later, that's great. But if you've done the exam, it's your A2 time starts then. 5 years from that date it expires.
Well, here's interesting. What point can a PFCO no longer renew if he's let it lapse? Because technically, at the moment, the rules haven't changed. Nothing has actually changed. So, like for instance, at the moment, mine's actually lapsed because of the world we're in and everything. Now, technically, these new regulations come into force 1st of January next year or whatever. So technically, at the moment, I've got to pay a little bit more, which I'm not worried about because I've not had to pay it anyway. But I can still renew at the
chair
moment.
will pay for it.
The chair will pay for it. I can renew up until the end of the year at the moment, can't I, Mark? As far as I know.
Yeah. So if you've ever had a PFCO, or like yourself, it's lapsed this year, you just renew it the day before, submit it the day before, or just midnight, a minute before midnight. That's it. They have to process it as if it's of that application.
Because mine ran out last month, and I just looked at it and gone, the way the world is right now, I'm not going to fly anyway. And why am I going to rush out right now to deal with this? Because I've got no plans to do anything in the next month or two. So I may as well just hold off and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the GVC and the PFC are basically the same sort of thing. Apart from the GVC will cover everything above 4 kilos, where your A2 will cover everything below 4 kilos.
Yeah.
But the PFCO, I think those rights might just be worth hanging on to. But they've said if it does continue, they will kill it off after about 4 years anyway.
Yeah,
they've
exactly.
said there's going to be a time where the grandfather rights, you've got to do the new course, that's it.
Yeah, I've got to get round to updating my ops manual or completely rewriting it.
It's like 4 minutes.
I wish it was. Unfortunately, I've had an issue. It's going to be like 4 weeks. That's part of the reason I haven't done it. So, yes.
Less than that when I sent you an email.
Yeah, don't. Let's just say I've had a documentation failure, which means I only have uneditable copies at the moment. So I need to.
I will send you
PDF, even if it's PDF is editable. Come on, don't so back on yourself, Ian.
Yeah, I've got to get that sorted. I've ignored it a little bit.
I can send you something that'll fix your problems.
Yeah, get the Mac, get the proper Macintosh, and Bob's your uncle with PDFs.
Yeah.
Dear me, we are definitely descending, aren't we?
But yeah, if you do renew your PFCO, make sure you keep fixed wing in there as well.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got it in, if you've got your BMFA plane A, use that. Just get it in.
Why did you say that with such fervour? Because you think that'll be really hard in the future.
I think grandfathering fixed wing right is more important now than multi-rotor, because I can see the C-rated aircraft coming from multi-rotor a lot quicker than fixed wing.
Right. Yes.
If you fly bespoke fixed wing as well, you're really going to want to keep that as long as you can, because the C-marked aircraft will probably appear because someone's going to want that market, Although if it is right, what we said earlier about DJI, if they're not going to care about the consumers anymore, we're on borrowed time. If they're not making drones for the masses and we're going to get a C2 marked one, it's going to be a bit of a pain.
We've got what? Why is this pit special looking for that live traffic that's down with Bruce at the moment?
No. It's just the one that Bruce is trying to detect. It's flying in Tokoroa. Come on, guys.
I see. Yes.
I noticed that they have a lot of palm trees in Tokoroa. We don't have any palm trees in Tokoroa. Someone posted a video to YouTube the other day flying an aircraft at the Tokoroa airfield on Flight Simulator, and they were crashing into palm trees, and I thought, my goodness, Bing is so accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be impossible to do the whole world very, very well, isn't it? I was quite impressed with that. What's all the chat going on? Why is all the chatter in English?
It's the air traffic controller speaking.
Goodness me.
This is uncontrolled airspace.
Yeah.
And he's an American. He's just got a long range radio. Right, enough of that. Enough of Louis flying over there. How close are you to Bruce's house?
I just took off from his airport.
Oh, look out the window.
Yeah, well, you should hear him go. Well, there, I can hear him in the background. He's going past already. Oh, it's loud. I'm taking that away. Right, what other news have we seen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls?
I haven't seen a lot more.
Well, it's not drone news, but it could so nearly have been, of course, because the press would have loved it if it was. A red arrow was hit by a bird.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yes.
well.
It made a mess of the canopy, thankfully, and you can quite clearly see there was no way to blame it on a drone for once.
And did we see?
I'm putting feathers on my drone now.
Did we see that AI beat the F-16 driver 5-0?
Yeah.
Yes.
The humans are just going to lose every day of the week.
Software beats wetware hands down.
Well, the wetware, yeah.
You can
Okay.
Well, they kept it within. They kept the AI within the same as the man's G limits as well. If they'd removed that, yeah, the AI was flying up to 9G.
Aren't you now worried? Aren't you now worried that once the internet becomes sentient, we're all doomed?
Well, no, because I love our robot overlords.
No, our Schwarzenegger overlords. Because don't worry, all the robot overlords will look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And there'll be spotters for me.
Will they be open source? Will they be open source overlords?
It won't really matter either way, will it? It won't matter to us.
We are having fun, but one of the projects for GSOC is the biped robot.
Yes.
Boston Dynamics.
No, but Boston Dynamics, come on. How many open source projects do you have with bipeds?
It's not, but just their machines are incredible.
They are very, very expensive thing to make, those bipeds.
How different is the Boston Dynamics dog or whatever that they're pushing around to all the famous YouTubers? How different is it from an RC car?
It's a good point.
It doesn't have wheels, Louis. There's no wheels on it. That's a major difference.
You know what I'm trying to say, despite the fact of not having wheels. What is it so different from an RC car?
Not 90 grand.
Yeah, that's all.
So is it a rover then?
Well, there you go. Very good. Boom, boom. Someone had to. Yes.
Yeah.
Set him up. He'll knock him down.
Yeah.
So the Boston Dynamics dog, I did see, was it Adam Savage? He built a little cart for it to pull. Which
Yes.
Really?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, there was a lot of work to go around in its steampunk cart. And from a usefulness, I mean, Louis got a good point. I mean, if it's to go and patrol your building site, would you not be just as well off with a big 1/10 scale RC car with a camera on a stick or something else? Yeah, you do wonder quite where the market for that thing is, really. I know they're trying to sell it to building sites for security, but really?
If they did it right, made it a bit bigger, you could always replace all the horses, like in New York, where they go around New York Park, Central Park, and everything. You could just have just get rid of all the horses then, and we could just have it towing You
could do that. You could do that. Yes. I mean, I don't know how many horses you get for the price of one of those, but
and you could try eating spaghetti with a spoon, but is it really worth it?
Well, it won't leave a mess on the road, will it?
No, that's true. No. That's very true.
Your vet bills will be cheaper.
Yes, Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. There's a story. Yeah. I showed the children at school videos of that and the dog and the various other things, and one of the girls got really upset because she was like, "Well, we've got dogs, we've got horses, we've got all these things. We don't need all these things." And she was quite right in a lot of ways. I had to do a lot of backpedaling to allay her fears of these robots coming, with me just going, "Isn't this cool?" No, it's not. So that's just me. Right. We're definitely talking nonsense now. Going once, going twice. Any more
For the
any
benefit
more?
of look, I'm not going to peel that off. I'm going to leave that on there. That's my.
I do that as well.
Yeah,
So
it's never coming off.
Yes. That almost looks like one of these. So I'm ready. I've got an SDR.
It's on a lead because it says. But I have to go make a case now. I need a 3D printer. Damn, if only Ian lived next door, eh? I need to design and print an enclosure for it.
No, but your house insurance would go through the roof if he lived next door. I think he probably doesn't have any neighbours.
Have you seen that there has been quite a few 3D printer fires recently, and when they go up, they do go up quite spectacularly as well. So lipos are not the only dangerous thing in this room.
Well, I did notice, Ian, that you have a fire extinguisher behind you.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
That's next to the bench after the last lipo went up.
Living next to Ian, you get lots of free MacBooks, although they need to be dried out first.
They do. Only I sacrificed that MacBook for the love of Ardra So,
but he's proved that you can't grow them. They don't grow on trees. It's true. You can't grow them.
So here's a question then, because this week you've not said you've got a fire nearby. What's going on, Gary?
Where was the fire nearby? There was a big fire. But yeah, not
California.
Yes.
You had the one 2 weeks ago. You had one last week.
Yeah.
So
thanks, Ed. Thanks for that. I can sleep peacefully tonight, knowing that there's one on the way somewhere nearby. So thanks very much, Mark. That's really, really, really good of you. No, there's a bit of a runaway one over there. There was the welding one. There was one on the other side of the mountain. There was one whose house nearly burnt down the other day. Someone's house nearly burnt down the other day. They're about. It's the right time of year. We've actually got we're banned from lighting fires right now. But it's dry and it's windy, and when they happen, they really happen. And wouldn't it be nice to have big autonomous aircraft just mooching around looking for them starting?
How do you barbecue your hyena steaks if you can't have a fire?
You can have a fire to cook on, but you can't burn your garden refuse or anything like that, or have any big fire break fires.
Can't kill two birds with one stone.
Well, you can if you're accurate. I mean, it really depends, how good your throw is. I know. It's hopefully this month when it's windy and dry, you want August gone, and then life gets a bit easier next month when the wind dies down.
Well, just be glad you're not here. It's 70-mile-an-hour winds and it's raining.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's middle of the UK. At the end of our summer, we're getting battered.
Yeah, I did see that
just like cod and chips,
just like cod or Mars bars in Scotland. I see that the weather warning in the West Country this morning was 30 knots inland, gusting 600 on the coastline. Somewhere I think it was meant to be gusting 60 at the coast, but it was 600. It actually said in the weather warning. I did see that. And Jeremy, burning down in California, gales and rain in Wales, North Wales. But I thought that's the standard for Wales, isn't it? The ISA standard for Wales is raining, isn't it? Windy and raining.
I think so, but I'm not in Wales. I'm actually in a part of the world where we're fairly flat and we don't tend to get battered too much.
Yeah,
so I'm in the middle of the UK, so I'm in the eastern middle side of the UK. So I mean, Ian will know what Wales is doing at the minute, but he's too busy enjoying his chair.
No, it's always raining here. It's horrendous. It's 70-mile-an-hour winds. It's torrential rain, so it's back to normal, really.
Get that MacBook outdoors straight away.
It's the same weather I had last time. Things I do. Funny enough, I've just messaged Alex.
Oh yes.
Find out what's happening with that.
Let's let these good viewers go. We're holding them here for no good reason at all. Dear viewers, wherever you are in the world, thank you very much. Wash your hands, wear a mask, be safe, and all those other good things. And stay out of the way of those fires. I know quite a few of our viewers are on that side, so be careful with the fires. The TFRs for those are quite amazing, the number of TFRs in force. And we'll see you again, 2100 GMT next week. We'll see you twice tomorrow, once at lunch o'clock when I'm doing this daily update, which people are beginning to watch, which is good. It's just the headlines. And then Louis and I, and perhaps Mr. Mad as well, will be mucking about with something, and we'll try and make it live. Then it's going to be there as well, which will be, what did we say, 2:30 in Europe o'clock, 3:30 for me, and 1:30 GMT. Pick a time, anytime.
Anytime, any place. Anytime, any place.
Just tell the viewers, if you click the subscribe and the notifications icon, you can get notifications.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's what you're supposed to do, isn't it? That's
You
right.
don't get email notifications anymore.
No,
YouTube have stopped that.
Come on.
Yeah.
Because it didn't work. So they were tired of people complaining, I don't get notifications. So they said, oh, nobody's using it, so we're going to turn it on. Easier than fix it.
Oh, so there's no point in me saying hit that notification bell then?
No, just say.
The app still pops up. The app still pops up.
Yeah, they should subscribe anyway. If they,
Oh, they don't have to.
Because you can't unsubscribe unless you subscribe first.
Bruce literally does it on my live stream. He spends his whole time just clicking subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe, unsubscribe, just to throw the algorithm.
Oh,
subscribe.
with that, we're definitely going. Dear viewers, take care. Look after yourself. See you again, 2100 GMT. About 2 o'clock tomorrow for the news and 3:30 for the other stuff. Cheers for now. Be safe, everyone.